Imagine this. Somebody gives a stranger just your company's name and 10 minutes. That's it. No password, no inside guy. And by the time they're done, they know your CEO plays golf, they know you drive an Audi, and they know exactly who's out of the office this week, so they can impersonate the one person who can't defend themselves. Sounds like a movie, right? It's not. It's a Tuesday. My guest today clones voices live on stage. He's tracked down hackers that law enforcement literally couldn't touch, cracked one case in about an hour, and yeah, there's a Tribeca documentary about it. He's spoken at TED Talks, worked with the U.S. Navy, wrote the Phantom CISO book that's on my bookshelf there, and he flips the one thing everybody gets wrong about security. You've heard it a million times, that humans are the weakest link. He hears that and just laughs, because trained right, humans can be your greatest asset. Come meet Mishaal Khan. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show. All right, welcome everybody. We are back in the studio, and today I have one of my all-time favorite guests. We are joined today by Iron Man himself, Mishaal Khan, highly respected figure in cybersecurity, author, international keynote speaker, having presented in TED Talks in front of Mastercard and even the U.S. Navy, as well as nearly every major cybersecurity industry event, with expertise in ethical hacking, open source intelligence, which is called OSINT, social engineering, and privacy. He's the creator of several side projects, including Operation Privacy, which we have cited often in our podcast. And he is the author of that phenomenal book, Phantom CISO, which we will have linked in the show notes, and also was part of an upcoming documentary, which will be featured on television screens close to you. Mr. Khan, Senor, Monsignor, welcome.
Thanks for having me, David. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Love what you do. And we were just talking in the studio before. You've been part of some remarkable things, doing a lot of good for people, fighting scammers online and really raising awareness of the state of the internet today. Let me start this off. I called you Iron Man. And the reason for that is you have your address as like where is it where Marvel Studios is, or
no,
it's actually Iron Man's
it's Iron Man's address.
Right?
So when we say I have my address in my credit bureau, so when I pull a credit report on myself, it says my primary address is 10880 Malibu Point, Malibu, California, which is the address of what Tony Stark says in, I believe, Iron Man 2. He tells the bad guy, the Mandarin, he's like, come to my house. It's 10880 Malibu Point. And he comes and kind of blows up his mansion. So that's literally the address of Iron Man's mansion, which is, if you actually go there, it doesn't exist. It's they CGI'd it on a rock in Malibu, so I'm not really doxing anyone by using that. But hey, I managed to fool credit bureaus, the most legitimate sources considered in the U.S. for address verification and checks, and I managed to get it up there as my top address. And sure, it may pose some issues for me, but it really doesn't. So I did it to prove a point.
It really, yeah, and you've done that often. You've really pointed out some of the broken processes that are really out there. Your one of your side projects is Operation Privacy. Walk me through, just share with the listeners and the viewers kind of what that is. It is a remarkable platform that is crowdsourced. You're able to track your progress, and it really helps you, focus on privacy online. Just from a high level, kind of share with people what it is.
I would say it started off as a very personal project on an Excel sheet. I was trying to track all the ways I could manage my online presence. I didn't want to be searchable in certain places, but other places I did. So I'm a public figure. I want people to reach out to me, but I also don't want them to see my home address or personal email address or personal phone number.
Which is really tough.
It is
very tough to do.
That balance is the tough part.
Yeah, you are an international speaker. You're all over the place, right? You're
Yeah.
everywhere.
And it's part of my business.
Right, it's part of your business.
Yeah.
But yet you want to maintain that security, that safety.
Right. So I started creating like a checklist because I was really good at OSINT. So I knew how to dig up information about myself and others and stuff. So I'm like, all right, how do I reverse engineer this process? So I knew a lot of basic techniques that everyone can kind of find in Google, all these opt-out websites, opt-out lists on, GitHub and everywhere else. So I started with that, like the low-hanging fruit. All right, go to a website, opt out, go to Fast People Search, go to Spokeo, go to whatever something peoplesearches.com and kind of follow their opt-out process. But that was literally the bottom of that list. I'm like, all right, once I take that out, it still somehow populates. Still, when I do background checks on myself, I kind of still can see everything about myself. So that list started growing into more difficult ones. How do I stop all these banks and data brokers and everyone else from spreading my information? Cool. Checkboxes added, more tasks added to that list. And then eventually, infrastructure level privacy, like my home is in a trust now. My cars are in either a trust or an LLC. My business is properly formed. And what about all the payment stuff that I do, monthly recurring fees of, let's say, my electricity bill, my internet, my gas, if I have an HOA and stuff like that. All those payments they're also selling your information from there. So, all right, how do I anonymize that? How do I get a burner phone number for that process, a burner email address? Maybe I could use a fake name, or if it's illegal, let's use a LLC or a trust. So as you can see, this suddenly started growing from not just basic opt-outs, but an entire holistic approach on privacy. How do I keep my house private? Like reverse engineer everything. Like I go to Google Street View, look at the front of my house. All right, blur it from Google Street View. What about Apple Maps? What about Bing Maps? People aren't looking at that. What about Zillow and Redfin and all that? I'm like, cool. So all those things started adding to my list. Home privacy, device privacy, laptop privacy, privacy on your phone. So it became so big that I'm like, all right, this Excel sheet is not manageable and there's too many variables. And I did this for myself. What if I want to repeat this process for someone else, or someone else wants to copy this process? Hence was formed, Operation Privacy. So a dashboard where you can log in and have your own version of that checklist and kind of checkbox all the things from I have it into like 3 tiers. You're either privacy conscious, you're serious, or you're ghost level. So depending on what level you're at, your tasks are going to get harder and deeper, and end result is you're going to have a good handle of your data. That's basically the goal.
Absolutely phenomenal. I used your framework when I was writing. This year I've done 3 books based on all the interviews that I've had. And instead of telling each individual story, I made one composite character that experiences them all. And she goes from being hacked to being deep faked to then going ghost. And she kind of evolves her privacy along the way. And this is what I use. Like I took your advice and I kind of modeled it after that. It was really fun.
Yeah, it's good because you have to do it that way, because I've been doing this for many years.
Process.
Yeah, and people get disheartened. They're like, I have to do 400 things. I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to do it like right now. You have to do it in 1 year, like 1 task a day.
Right.
It should be sufficient. And you don't have to do all of them. You can skip a lot of them if it doesn't apply to you. So I've covered all those things in that dashboard, and it's all free. So it's like, those are my quote unquote trade secrets. People keep a lot of those things close to your chest. I don't. I'm like, you shouldn't. It's a basic human necessity. Privacy is a basic human right. Everyone should have access to it. Sure, I make money off of it while I do business as a privacy manager for people who are willing to pay me for the process, for the consultancy, for coaching on the privacy side. Sure, there's a time and place for it. But for the rest of the 99.9% of the population that can't afford me, it's free. So it's like, I'm not like hiding anything. You shouldn't be a gatekeeper to any sort of information, in my opinion.
I completely agree. Like, to me, we've evolved so much just in one lifetime that nobody's really prepared for it. And so our rights and our individuality is so tied to how we handle technology now.
Yeah.
which wasn't even around when I was a kid.
I know.
Like, just everything has changed. And so,
Yeah, this is why I wasn't aware when I was younger. I actually started becoming privacy conscious when I came to the US, because even outside of the US, it's not a big deal. You know, they have laws, GDPR and stuff, but even if they don't have laws, like I grew up in the Middle East, there, you know, the laws will not stop you from the privacy and the selling of data and stuff, but it's the culture that people just won't share. Companies just won't ingest that data. They don't need to make money through ad revenue and stuff. They're rich countries. So it's like that problem doesn't exist there. Here it's a whole business. It's like $1 billion business just to harvest and sell and resell your data. Other parts of the world, not so much. So my eyes kind of open up here. I'm like, I need to be more conscious, more careful on what data I give out to whom. And there's like so many rules and laws and stuff, and no one's following it. So I'm like, you know what? Here's all my secrets out. Like, you guys should all be like taking care of your own data, because someone else is, you know, benefiting over it, using it, abusing it, and you're the one who's going to suffer at the end when, you know, you're caught in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong data. You name it. So many things can go wrong.
Absolutely. You know, when we spoke several years ago, you had told me a tip, and that was when, you know, just little things that people can do, like when you're going to be away for a week or so, like don't have the forwarding when you forward your emails, or you give an automatic notification. Don't tell people when you're back and when you're gone. Don't make that public, right? Like you can say I'm out of the office, or maybe don't say that. Right?
Yeah.
Either don't say it at all or just make it very vague. And I've done that ever since. And someone, interestingly enough, someone that I know had the dates in there, and they were socially engineered while they were gone. There were emails sent to coworkers and things like that, because they were able to say, hey, I'm over in Florida at this event. Can you do this, this, and this? And they had spoofed the email, and it caused them a lot of problems. And as soon as they got back, I'm like, you know, here's a good lesson.
And people should know where these techniques come from. This I accidentally discovered when I was doing a pen test. So, you know, the hacker techniques reveal these flaws. And I sent about 5,000 emails to everyone in the organization. And I got back these out-of-office autoresponders for about 50 people. And I'm like, cool. Most of them have dates next to it. I'll be out of the office from this date to that date. I'm like, all right, plan B. A lot of people didn't click on the links. Let me social engineer some of them. So the ones I would impersonate are the ones who are not in the office, so that they can't defend themselves. It's like the hacker mentality. So I used to impersonate someone's email or their voice or whatever, and call someone else saying, hey, I'm on a vacation, I'm on a boat, could you just please click on this and like handle this? And they would. And they're like, I can't come on a call, just through chat or whatever. And they would fall for it, because they're like, oh yeah, that person's known to be on a vacation till next week. I'm like, see, I'm exploiting that little piece. So I'm like, you know what, let's reverse that on myself. So from a privacy perspective, let's not do that. Let's not put at least dates in there. Just say, you know, expect delays. I'll be, you know, out for a bit or whatever. And that's enough. That's all the other side needs to know. And just for internal emails, yes, maybe not for external. External doesn't need to know. If you have a delay of 5-6 days in your emails, so what? I mean, those are little things, but if you do mention these things, then there's something to lose. So I weigh the pros and cons of every technique that I use.
Unbelievable. Well, you do quite a bit of public speaking, and you've cloned voices online, and I'm just astonished by the level of deepfake capabilities and the advancement that has happened so quickly. I mean, it is essentially, if they use the right platform in the right context, it is indistinguishable by the human eye, human ear. I mean, it is it is not robotic sounding whatsoever. It has the nuance, the timbre, the syntax of the actual person. It's remarkable. What kind of voice cloning scenario should worry like a small to mid-sized business owner? Like what kind of scenarios have you seen in the industry for leaders, business leaders, things like that?
Yeah, I would say the quick and dirty ones are the ones that hurt the most, because voice cloning, in my opinion, is very close to perfect. Video, not so much. The longer you do any one of these techniques, a human will be able to figure out that this is not real. So from a hacker's perspective, I keep it short. If I'm going to exploit someone's voice, it'll be extreme, like 30 seconds or less, maybe 10 seconds at best. Like, get to your point and use all the principles of social engineering. Urgency, you need to take action right now. It's like, don't have them ask any questions within your statement. Say everything that is in their head, like what's going on, where are you, what do you need to do, are you a threat, yes, no. So answer all these within a simple sentence. Like, an example I often use is if I use someone's spouse and I call them and say that I'm at the bank. I say, hey, honey, I'm at the bank and I'm opening up a new checking account and they need your information as the beneficiary. So they're going to send you an SMS text message. Could you please give it to me right now? I'm waiting in line. So the other person is like, oh shit, this is urgent. I know exactly what I need to do. Oh, cool. I just got a text message that's six-digit code. It's like, yeah, I'll explain later. Just give me the 6-digit code. And you give it. Done. Within 10, 15 seconds, you have the MFA, TOTP code, whatever. And in the back end, the hacker could be just logging into your account. They have your password from a data breach. Everyone has passwords these days. They log in, and then right after the login, it says, we've sent a text message to this person, 6-digit code. Please enter it here. That's when you make the call. And nice and quick, voice clone their spouse or whatever. And now they have the 6-digit code. They log in, and you've been hacked. So people are like, oh, MFA is like the best thing ever, and it'll protect you. No, it's good to have. It's a bare minimum, in my opinion, but you can hack almost everything at this point. So you need to take caution with AI, with voice cloning and stuff. And the solution to this is nothing's that urgent in life. Take a deep breath, relax. It's like, this is not life or death. Yep. If it is, yeah, then 911 is the answer. But if it's not, then just relax. What's going to happen if you cut the line and call them back? Nothing, a little bit of delay, but you're not going to lose much. So that's basically what's being exploited, your attention.
I'm safe because my wife would yell at me for being at the bank, opening up an account without her. She'd be like, what are you doing? What you know what we're doing. So I think we're safe there. But let me ask you about this. I've heard voice clones done when people leave a voicemail, like on our cell phone, right? We have our number, right? When people from the outside call our number, we'll leave a voicemail. Hey, this is David D. Morrow, blah, blah, blah. Leave, please leave a message. It's very important, blah, blah. And they're able to clip that. Yeah. And so one thing I've seen a lot of people is just let it go to the default. Just let it be the number.
And that's one of my tips in Operation Privacy. One of the checkboxes is delete your voicemail and keep it to the default, whatever it is. Because it serves the purpose. I'm like, what's the pros and cons? It's just a vanity thing now, having your own voice.
Right, it really is. It really is.
Yeah, look at it from a logical perspective. Is it any better? No, it's not. You get the message. But you're right. So I've actually used that many times in a demo. Companies have hired me to do an internal demo. And I'm like, I took one of the CEO's voice. If they weren't on a podcast or anything, I just call them in the middle of the night. So I get their voicemail from a burner number, let's say a Google Voice number or something. And I just record that voice and I use it for cloning. All you need now in most of these softwares online is like 3 seconds, they say. So 3 seconds for a good enough clone. The longer the better, but 3 seconds is like their minimum. So I'm like, yeah, I got more than 3 seconds, and then I clone it in a way where I put a little bit of distortion in the sound, so I lower the quality so that you can't hear the imperfections, and that's real life. And people fall for it. When it's quick, people don't realize all these imperfections and stuff. It's a matter of urgency because I'm exploiting the human mind at this point, social engineering. But I'm just using technology to kind of help me. So yeah, be careful.
If I gave you 10, 15 minutes and a company name, like what open source intelligence could you find out before any, phishing email went out?
I would probably first start with a broad search about the company online to see what does their social presence look like. Do they have a Facebook? Do they have LinkedIn? Where Are there mentions, their names in certain articles? Then I would look at data breaches. Once I have their domain and a few employee names, I would quickly look at data breaches, just like the domain part of it, and see who's part of a data breach. Look at their passwords. And look at anything else that's part of a data breach. Sometimes you get addresses, sometimes you get, the MGM data breach, Park Mobile data breach will have license plate numbers and stuff. So I would try to gather as much information dump as possible from different sources, social media breaches and stuff, and then look at their technology infrastructure. What is the company using? Are they using Microsoft as their email or Google? What is their MX records? Where are they hosting their website? Who are their partners? What technologies do they use? Are they a Cisco shop or HP switches and stuff like that? That all is good, because right now I don't know what I'm going to do with that information, but 5, 10, 15 minutes, gather as much as I can. Now, based on that information, now I would formulate my plan. All right, maybe I can social engineer. Maybe I can call them saying, hey, I'm a vendor. I'm Cisco. You guys have a lot of Cisco access points. We have a brand new access point here, which is, $5,000, and we're giving you a free demo trial. Give me your shipping address, or before you do, I'm sending you a PDF, an order form. It's $0, don't worry, but just click on it. And whatever errors it gives you, just forget about it. It's like an old janky form. Just click yes on it. So little stuff like that. Now I've clicked through and maybe installed malware, or maybe impersonate some employee and walk through the front door and say, oh, here's that delivery for such and such, or I'm part of this meeting for whatever, or this event is happening and that event has been canceled. Oh my God, emergency. That event can't be canceled. Well, it was on your Facebook, so I know what you guys are doing, or I know your interests. I know the CEO loves golf, so here's a golfing email about something. Or you were part of a certain breach with a certain, let's say the Audi breach, so I know you drive an Audi. Oh, here's a free offer for an event that Audi is hosting. So based on that information, I could do phishing, I could do social engineering, I could do external, web attacks, or I could exploit something on your website or a portal, or the possibilities are endless. And this is where I believe the hacker's creativity comes in. But without the OSINT piece, I would be shooting in the dark.
Phenomenal. Let me ask you this. Industry-wide, you see, you're obviously up to date on all the news. You're on regular updates where you're providing the industry with recent trends. In the last several years, we've seen some major breaches with these loosely knit or like disorganized but yet organized collaborative groups like the COM and Scattered Spider. And they've been extremely effective in using OSINT and social engineering to breach major companies. Why do you think and I guess my question is, what are some of the top defenses to that organizations can do? Because they're doing things like, they do a vast amount of OSINT and vast amount of research ahead of time, and then they do things like call the IT help desk and say, hey, I just got a new phone. Can you help set me up? And the help desk, it's help is baked into the name, right? And the kids working those desks, I know them, like they're just trying to get through their day. They have 1,000 tickets to do. So they're just, they don't see it coming. What are some of the best practices there?
Yeah, I think you kind of mentioned the problem very well. One of the things you mentioned is this is long term. The hackers, the nation state attackers are doing this for months at a time, 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, sometimes years. They're doing reconnaissance, OSINT, just collecting information, waiting for the right time. So that's one of the lessons right there. These things don't happen randomly. If it's a strong enough hack, it's going to take time. So why don't you take time for your defenses as well? You think, one click, one little security product is going to solve your, this mess? No, you need to take a similar approach where strategy is involved. And these are the type of things I mentioned in the book, the Phantom CISO. Take a hacker's approach to being a CISO. Is what are hackers doing? All right, they're doing this. They're setting themselves up for success. Well, set yourself up for success too. Do your own scans before they do the scans. Do your own pen tests before they do a free pen test for you. Do a CIS assessment or NIST assessment or HIPAA or whatever. Do security risk assessments. Make sure your GRC is in place, because those are the low-hanging fruits. That will kind of tell you the gaps that you have, and then start patching those gaps, start fixing those gaps. Whatever technical controls fit in those gaps, do it that way. Most people have that tactical approach first. They're like, all right, here's 5 products that we have. We should be secure. No, it's not about product security. Product security is plugging a gap. What is your gap first? So, that's one side of the big puzzle. The other thing is, you mentioned that they're exploiting the help desk and exploiting your willingness to follow a process, follow an SOP, follow whatever your company has told you to follow to help others. Well, they're using social engineering to exploit that because they know what to expect. The solution to that is a security culture. Very few of us are focusing on that. So I'm a virtual CISO of a few organizations, and I see my biggest goal is establishing a secure culture where everyone in the organization is aware of what hacks look like, what should we do, where they don't feel awkward saying no to something because they have security in the back of their head. They're like, no, this is for the sake of security. If I'm too gullible, quote unquote, I could compromise the whole organization. I show them real examples. I'm like, look, this is what's happening. I involve them in the process, saying, look, your company is being attacked by this phishing scam, or this person called the call center. You should all be aware. So involve them. This is how the company employees, whose job, by the way, isn't security, they will know what security is. It's a serious thing. And now you're developing a security culture. Another thing I would often tell companies is don't have this security culture of punishing people. Like, I failed a phishing
I was
test.
just about to ask you that, right?
Yeah.
Like, have
It hinders
it
it.
comfortable, have it helpful for them to see something and say something.
Yeah.
Have rewards, have
Exactly.
like bonus points,
A
or
reward
things like
system.
that.
Because I always say you have a punishment
Agreed.
system, but what about a reward system? You punish
Right.
them for failing a test or clicking on an internal phishing link. But what if they pass that test? What if they inform you of a legitimate phishing threat that they had and report to IT or security? Do they get a reward? Like a gift card, a pat on the back, a public announcement,
Yeah.
something. Make up something, but
Right.
have a reward system. So, and that promotes that security culture, because if you don't have a reward system, people will stay quiet. They'll be like, hey, I don't want to be the guy who gets like whatever, the slack for it, or gets, punishment for doing this stuff. So, I mean, that becomes the other goal. So I feel if we establish this baseline using security assessments and continuous improvement over time, we're setting up a good baseline infrastructure for ourselves to be secure, and not just slapping on like security on top like a band-aid. And then also having the human element. People falsely say humans are the biggest weakness or the greatest weakness.
Oh yeah, the weakest link.
Yeah, weakest link.
Yeah,
Humans
I
are the
always
weakest link.
hear that.
I always turn that around and I say humans
Yeah, I
are
don't
your
buy it.
greatest asset.
Right.
So if you train that asset to be security aware and inculcate that culture, then you've just flipped the script around. So that's kind of my long-term solution.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, and I could be totally wrong. I thought I read somewhere that you were brought in as the hacker on a stalking case, and were you able to track down somebody, or is that not?
So yeah, I mean, many stalking cases. I
I
don't
was
know
going to
which.
say there was a few. I forgot which one it
Is it-
was, but I saw that and I'm like, oh, I've got to remember to ask Mishaal that.
Yeah, I think the biggest one was on a podcast called the Pretend Podcast, and they had a series of like 16 episodes or something of a real stalking case. It was going on live, and I came in as subject matter expert on hacking and how the stalking was going on. Helped out the podcaster, who's an investigative journalist, and law enforcement was involved. Provided them with the data. Kind of translated what all that data meant, told them to issue certain subpoenas with certain ISPs around, with Google, Snapchat, whatever, and then get some IP addresses, do something with that IP address to kind of guide a lot of them through the process and say, all right, well, what will a subpoena get you? All right, we need that IP address. Now let's go to the telecom provider. We know who the ISP for the home is. Let's see if we can get to the home address, and then so many other technical things like that. And that's where people need help. Law enforcement definitely needs help there. They have very few resources, and the few resources that they have, their technical expertise are much lower than the general private sector, I want to say. So they absolutely need the help. And cases like stalking or doxing and stuff, I feel all of them can be resolved. You just need to put in enough time, effort, and it will be done. So I've been part of quite a few stalking cases, some 6 months, a year it took to kind of resolve just because of the legal process. Some of them took a week, a couple of days, and boom, results were there. It's some of the things are just very easy because the people you're dealing with, the victims, are not very tech savvy. But once you kind of guide them through the process, they know what they're doing then.
Once again, it's like you're Iron Man or Batman and able to like help law enforcement solve these crimes. It's remarkable. And I like hats off to you, man. Like that is just so good to see.
Well, on that note, I would say a lot of the cases that come to me, I first tell them, like, have you tried other avenues? Have you tried law enforcement? Have you tried, local communities? And they're like, yes.
Depending on where they are, there's some.
It's going to be different.
It's going to be different, and a lot of law enforcement don't have cybercrime divisions.
Oh, yeah. Right? And I tell them, once law enforcement fails you, then reach out to me. I'm not your first line of defense. I'm your last line of defense, because my methods may not always be legal, ethical. And I say this not because I'm a vigilante or anything. I say this because every state, every country has its own laws. And in my opinion, there are a lot of silly laws that are preventing people like me from helping innocent victims. Simple example is like the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of, 19 or 1600s or whatever. Right. It's so archaic that basically says, I can't do anything on the internet without getting penalized for it. You log in or you access a website that you're not supposed to, not even log in, but just be in a place on a website, you can be penalized. There's an example, if you Google F12 is not a crime. There's even t-shirts that say that. It's one, I think, journalist press F12 on a Windows machine, which is basically viewing the code, the HTML code. Right click, view source, same thing. I do that all the time. And he saw that
My son does that all the time.
Yeah. So in Missouri, he did that to a Missouri government website, and he saw clear text social security numbers going through the network tab of the browser. And not just his social security number, everyone's social security number in the state of Missouri. So he reported this.
Right.
He was a journalist. He wasn't a hacker.
Right.
So he said, hey, IT guys, you have a problem. And they fixed it. Within days, they're like, oh, shit, we shouldn't have done this. So they fixed it. The governor of Missouri penalized him, had a case against him saying, you tried to hack us and you tried to, he was up for election or something. And he's like, you tried to sling mud on me and saying my website is crap. I mean, they took a political turn to this. So he was actually being prosecuted for this for years. He spent thousands of dollars defending himself and saying, I'm the good guy here. Yeah, so I'm like, I think of those things. I'm like, do I really want to do this publicly? Or do I want to help people privately? So I chose the private route. I'm like, I'm not going to advertise half the things I do, because if I do, law enforcement will come knocking on my door for doing the right thing, for doing their job in most cases.
Exactly.
So I can tell you from experience, I've been doing this ever since I was a kid. So, 35, 40 plus years. I would say the number one hurdle for a person like me trying to help out victims is law enforcement ego. I'll say it, and I say it every time in my classes as well. It is the ego that gets in the way, not just law enforcement ego, everyone's egos. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to help you out. I'm not charging you money. I'm giving my own time, but then someone will feel offended. You think you're above the law. You think you're better than us.
On the website, right? You're not there adjusting the code and putting in prompt injections.
Exactly.
And things like
but
that.
people don't understand.
You're not doing that.
Like you put this in front of a judge.
They don't understand it.
Imagine these stalking cases go in front of a judge, and these people are like 78 years old. Most of the lawyers are that too. The jury is old. You don't get 20, 30-year-olds in a courthouse.
You don't get a jury of your peers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the issue.
And they don't understand technology. They don't understand how ChatGPT works. They don't understand what an IP address is and routing. And I'm like, man, these are basic things. Like, how do I even, justify my case on how I found this person using OSINT? They're like, but that doesn't sound legal. Your title says ethical hacker. You must be a bad guy. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, you must be a bad guy. That's because they think hackers are like what Hollywood says.
I had a lawyer once tell me that we want to use you for a court case as a expert witness for something that you understand very well. I'm like, I don't know, what are the terms and conditions? They're like, you have to change your title on LinkedIn and your CV and everywhere because it says ethical hacker. I'm like, dude, I have a certification with the word hacker in it and stuff. And they're like, well, you got to delete all that stuff.
Literally an industry certification.
Right. And
Right.
and I'm like, why though? He's like, it won't work well against the judge and the opposition. They'll be like, oh look, he's a hacker, so we can't trust his methods. I'm like, great. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be part of this stuff. You guys fight the legal battle. I'll fight the technical battle. I'll do what I'm good at. You do what you're good at, and let's not like let's collaborate where we need to. But I'm not going to cross paths.
Unbelievable. Shifting gears real quick. People worry a lot about their data being sold and data brokers. Is there a certain type of data broker that does more harm or damage than others? Just looking for any insight you can give to people. Obviously, through Operation Privacy, they can track, their opt-out campaigns and the ways that they can, and there's platforms out there like Optory and Delete Me and things like that can automate the process and help you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it you can do yourself, but it's just a matter of time. So I understand why people choose to have these platforms too. But are there certain ones that do more damage to us?
Oh yeah, the ones that do more damage, these automated platforms don't even touch them. I'll give you an example. They're called premium data brokers. They're mostly private. So places like LexisNexis, you've probably heard of those, or any company owned by Experian or Equifax. They own a lot of data broker companies by different names. Those are the premium ones. Those are the ones that are truly harvesting your data. Proof of that is in a couple of things when you do OSINT. If you issue a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, on your own house, in your own county in the US, you will see all the other people who have issued requests on the neighborhood as well. One of the things that pops up a lot is Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. I'm like, why do they want data about my house using a Freedom of Information Act request? They're just harvesting all the data using the legal means and saying, who lives in this house? How long have they lived here? And then they're harvesting that data. These smaller data broker websites are not getting it directly from the source. They're getting it from their bottom feeders. They're getting it from the premium data sources like, LexisNexis and stuff. And they're the ones selling it downstream to them. So if you're removing yourself from the downstream data brokers, it's going to repopulate eventually. So the banks are one thing. So the moment you open up a bank account, ask for a loan or whatever, you give them a lot of verified information, like your driver's license with a home address listed on it, a phone number that they can send a text message to, not a VoIP number. Banks don't accept VoIP numbers. One of the reasons is that once they collect all this information is gold because it's verified. Now they sell it onwards. Banking policy always says we are allowed to sell this data to our partners or share it with our partners. Who are their partners? All these big data broker companies are their partners. So they're double dipping on you. They're making money from you and then from selling your data. Another example that you see is the DMV sells your data. People don't realize you go to the DMV, get a plate. Like, I just want to change my car plate number or title or whatever, and the information they're actually selling. But people ask me once, like, but I didn't sign up for this. Where's the opt-out? I'm like, oh, there is no opt-out. There's no checkbox that says I allow you to sell my data, because this is the government. Those opt-outs and privacy policies apply to the private sector, not the government sector. The government can do whatever they want with your data, which is very true. People don't believe me, but
it's
Google.
Still really remarkable to think that the DMV is profiting.
And this is not just me saying it.
From selling the data. No, there was several
Google
suits I saw.
Google this phrase, California and DMV, $50 million. Just Google these simple words, and you'll see articles after articles of how the California DMV makes $50 million a year selling drivers' data. I'm like, what? That's a lot of money. And this was like old news, so now they're probably making double, triple of that. So all of these are the premium data brokers. And I'm like, all right, these are the places that you need to stop your data from, or the legitimate data to go. So that's why when I go to the DMV, the vehicle is not under my true name. It's under an LLC or a trust. It just adds a little layer of privacy. We talk about layers of security. I add layers of privacy to my life. This way, everything's still legal. I'm not breaking the law. But when someone tries to pierce that veil, most people will fail. When law enforcement pulls me over for a traffic violation, they run your plate. Before they even come up to your window, they know exactly who you are. Not with me. They come up to my window and my car is registered under a trust. So it's not even an LLC that you can look up at the Secretary of State's website. which just adds a little bit more friction. But this is a trust. It's not even registered anywhere. Only I have those documents. So they come up to me not knowing anything in advance. And that's how I like it. I'd like to give them my driver's license, do your research now. Don't come to my window with some preconceived notions on who I am, how many past violations I have, where I work, all that stuff, where that plate has been caught using flock cameras. So they have all that information about you within minutes. And I'm like, I'm at a disadvantage already. I want a clean state when we start. So that's basically my threat. I'm not trying to hide from the government. I'm trying to make it an even playing field.
There's a difference. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No, even playing field plus the hackers, because this data is going to leak. It always does. Every agency gets hacked. And when it does leak, I'm at a huge disadvantage now because all the hackers, everyone else who's malicious has access to my information that they can use and abuse against me. And there's nothing that these companies will do to protect it. They'll just issue an apology statement. That's it. Free credit monitoring, which, by the way, is free anyways. So I'm like, yeah, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and there's a distinct difference between privacy and secrecy, right? Like, what's your view on like, or do you ever get pushback when you're promoting privacy? People are like, oh, you must be doing something shady, and it's like, no. Like when everybody knows what happens in the restroom, but yet we still close the door, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's a matter of privacy. It's not secret.
Some do it publicly, but yeah, that's a different one.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But
that's a San Francisco issue. Like we're not like it's not secret what's happening. It's just a matter of privacy.
Yeah,
it's just a personal preference.
I get that, and my answer to most of those things is that I flip it around. I don't try to be defensive, because in the past I used to be. For example, when I'm like at a doctor's office or something, and they ask for my ID, I usually give either a passport card or a global entry card. Both are government issued IDs, but neither one of them have a address listed on it. So when I give it to them, they're like, "Oh, don't you have a driver's license?" I'm like, "You asked for an ID." They're like, "Oh," I'm like, "This is a government issued ID, a global entry card." They're like, "Okay." And then they write it down, the information, or they scan it, whatever, because they have to by their own policy. I'm like, sure, go ahead. And then they ask me for a home address. I'm like, "Why do you need a home address?" "Oh, to send you a bill." I'm like, "No, I'm paying in cash." They're like, "But still, we need something on file." I'm like, "All right, you need anything on file?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, 123 Privacy Drive, Hollywood, California." And then they laugh. They're like, "But we need like your real address." I'm like, "No, you don't." I'm like, "Can I have your home address?" And then they're like, "No." "Can I have your cell phone number?" I'm like, "I don't need notifications." And they're like, "I'm not asking you for your personal cell phone number. Right. So why do you need it? Do I need it to get medical attention?" "No, I don't." So sometimes if they're very cocky with me, that'll be my reply. But most times I'll just give them something either fake or a Google Voice number or an address that's, I have it in my mind, an address that doesn't exist. So it won't be like a 123 Privacy Drive or something fake, but it'll be an address of a building. Let's say a building has 5 floors. I'll give the 6th floor or the 10th floor of that. So it'll verify in some of the systems. So because some of the online systems verify the address if it exists or not. So it'll always verify it because the street address verifies, the building floor may not, or an abandoned place like with nothing on it, or like the 10880 Malibu Drive.
Rock. You can't give them the iron.
I can. I do that very often. And the thing is, when I do that, I often see statements with that address on it, and I get mail. So I give a PO box in most like legitimate cases. When they ask, I'm like, "All right, here's my PO box." And then I start getting junk. And I always jokingly tell them, I'm like, "Please don't send me junk. I'm giving you my address, but please don't send me any junk." "Oh no, we don't send junk, blah, blah." I'm like, "Cool." And then 1 month passes, and then all these partner companies are sending me junk. They're not, but they've clearly sold my address to other hospitals, other clinics, other medical, whatever crap online. And then I start getting offers. I'm like, nobody had this address before, and now they do. So it is a sick system where they lie to you. And that's the other thing. That's why I don't feel bad lying about these things. And by the way, it's not against the law to lie to a private entity. So public government entity, I would not lie. That's where I have the legal framework. I'm like, "Oh, here's my PO box. Where's your address?" "Here it is." Who's your home under? Not me. It's a trust or whatever. But private entities, sure, you lie to me all the time. You're not going to sell my data. What's your phone number? I don't know. 8675309.
And the cybersecurity controls at your local doctor's office are virtually non-existent.
Yeah.
So So, giving them all of your confidential, sensitive data,
Yeah.
let alone your medical records, makes us nervous.
They don't realize the HIPAA forms and stuff and what it means that I can refuse to sign it. And like, I'm not acknowledging all they just don't understand the law. They're just being told, have everyone sign this, collect this information. In a lot of their forms, like on an iPad and stuff, you can skip information. I went to a doctor's office a long time ago during COVID. They asked me for my social security number. And I was like confused for a second. I'm like, am I opening a bank account? No, we just need this. I'm like, what for though? Oh, because it's a unique identifier for you. So I'm like, oh, cool, unique identifier. I'm like, do you know, according to the HIPAA security risk assessment, a unique identifier needs to be randomly created and not tied to PII in any way. That's a HIPAA violation.
Right.
So she's like, well, I've been told to collect social security numbers. I'm like, does the form require it? Her computer? She's like, yeah. I'm like, can you put 000 on it? She's like, let me try. She put it all zeros and it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah. I'm like, there you go. I'm like, data breaches. So I just gave her a nice little, lecture about, eventually the system is going to get breached and this info is going to be out. So I would only put in stuff that's absolutely necessary for me to get medical attention. Nothing more, nothing less. So, I mean, people need to be educated. So I do take the time to educate the general public in a passing comment. I don't make it into a lecture or anything. There's people waiting or whatever. But I feel as a responsibility. Like if I don't say it, they'll continue to do what they do, even though they still will. But at least I've planted the seed in their heads. And the person listening to me at the airport or behind me or whatever in a queue is also getting educated. They're like, oh, cool, this guy refused for his picture to be taken by the TSA camera. Cool, I could do that too. It was safe. He just said, I opt out, and they didn't do anything. They didn't put him in special, a line or something. No, cool, I could do that too. Yeah, exactly. So people are afraid to go out of the norm. And for privacy's sake, I tell them, listen, this is becoming a surveillance state. You need to start resisting. People do have power. Maybe one person alone doesn't have the power, but one person alone can create that domino effect for others. So I strongly believe in that. And that's why I do what I do.
Well, when you say that, people might think it's a political comment, but I don't find that it is. Like, it's not on either party. It's the technology itself. Yeah. It's the government overall, both parties. Like, everybody wants your data. Like, I don't think it's necessarily even a political comment. It's a civil rights comment. It's a individual right position. Would you agree with that? Like,
when people are, like, when they see the dark side of all of this data access and surveillance, then they kind of realize that, like, there's enough abuse here for the system not to exist. Like, what is the need? I always say, is it solving problems or is it not? Like the flock camera system is perfect example. Flock claims we've reduced crime. Independent studies shows they've actually increased crime. Every place that there's a flock camera or license plate reader, crime has actually gone up.
You think? That's such an interesting finding, right? Yeah. So why do you think that's happening? I don't dispute it. I don't.
Vandalism is one thing. So every time people see that, vandalism. The other thing is people resist. They're like, you know what? There's a camera here. I'm just gonna wear a mask and do whatever I was gonna do anyways. So they kind of try to stress test the system, or they kind of try to go against it. It's like the hacker mentality. If a website says this site is hacker proof, no one can get to it. You know what? You just attracted more attention. Right, so that's the thing with these cameras. They're like, oh, look, there's a camera. Watch me. Here's a challenge. I'll still steal from this house and I'll use someone else's plate, or I'll just remove my plate and let's see what happens. And I mean, I've seen both sides of this, and I'm truly of the opinion that these systems don't cause much of a dent in the system of justice. Like, if they're there for justice or to protect the kids, they use this a lot for emotional, the response. They're not. If you really wanted to protect the kids, if you really wanted to protect humans and provide justice, there's 100 other things I could tell you to do right now for free, which will have 100 times more impact. But they choose not to go that route for so many. Like, now the reasons become political: money, corruption, power. So although I don't ever want to get into that argument, but that is the factor that drives this, unfortunately.
Yeah. Absolutely. Unbelievable. So thank you so much for today. As we wrap up, I want to ask you about your upcoming documentary. Obviously, it's in the works. There's NDAs, but what can you share with us about it?
Yeah, there's a documentary that I was part of. It's been aired at the Tribeca Film Festival, so it's about to be released.
Yeah, it's called a star, man. That's so cool.
It's called Stealing Magic. So someone from that magic community reached out to me. They actually saw a video of mine on YouTube with David Bombo, and I was doing OSINT and stuff. And in the video, I said, I like challenges. This is why I do what I do, because if there's a hard enough challenge, I'll put all my effort into it and solve it. So the guy was like, listen, we don't know each other, but you said you like challenges. I have a challenge for you. I'm like, all right, what's the challenge? So he gave me a bunch. So one of them was like, we've been trying to catch this hacker for a while. Can you like figure out who this is? I'm like, who is this guy? He's like, oh, they're pirates, basically. So the gist of the story is piracy is happening a lot in the magic community. They're pirating books of magic secrets and stuff. Videos and selling it on pirate websites. This has been a problem forever, but in the magic community, it's a smaller community and they get affected very quickly. All their hard work that they put into it, someone's stealing it and selling it for $1 somewhere online. And this became so big that it's like a big industry right now. So I kind of put my head to it, and it took me about an hour or two, and I found enough evidence to point them in the right direction. Other people were involved, Department of Justice was involved, other nations, law enforcement was involved, and it took me all about an hour to figure out.
Wow.
The way I did this was breaches, because I looked at breaches, stealer logs, found IP addresses, found other commonalities between the hacker's infrastructure versus other legitimate, their real infrastructure, because they either shared a password somewhere in a breach or the username was very similar. And the IP addresses and computer names were in stealer logs. I'm like, cool. Without a doubt, this is the guy you're looking at. And it is a limitation for others, like law enforcement cannot use stolen data, breached data. I can. I'm in the private sector. I can absolutely use whatever I want at my disposal to solve, crime like this. So I used those techniques, and it was pretty successful. They ended up like making a documentary about the whole process. I have a very small role in the documentary right towards the end where I kind of crack open the case, but that led to other really stuff.
Important.
Yeah, that led to some of, like, if you want to see something more publicly available on my YouTube channel, I have a 10-minute video of unmasking the mask magic. That's what he calls himself. Remember back in the days, there was a mask magician. There was like a series about it. This is like the second version of that. He's a guy on YouTube that has like 3 million followers, and he makes a lot of money on Instagram, YouTube and stuff, wearing a mask and revealing other people's magic tricks. Like, this is how it's done. And
you're kidding.
And he's basically
he's basically stealing that intellectual property.
Yeah, he's basically reading the books which says don't really reveal the secret, and then he's looking at the technique and then recreating it in a 30-second video for the TikTok audience, Instagram Reels and stuff like that. And he has a lot of followers, like millions at this point, and no one knows who he was. So I made a little video on me unmasking the mask magic. I'm like, all right, you guys have been trying to figure this out for years.
It takes you like an hour or so.
Yeah, it took me exactly 1 hour. But the way I did this was very unconventional. People think, oh, OSINT is just Googling stuff and figuring out using a browser and like going to different. No, it wasn't just that. I actually looked at 1,000 of his videos, and I actually fast forward that video showing that I actually did the work. It's not magic, quote unquote. It's hard work to unmask someone like this. And I went through all of them, and I found peculiarities. I found differences that only the human eye can pick up and the human mind can do. Because people ask me, could AI have done what you did? I'm like, nope, absolutely not. Because for AI to do what I did, like the OSINT piece, I need to tell it what I'm about to do. I don't even know what I'm about to do. Because as I'm searching for stuff, I'm like, oh, what's different here? What's unique here? Where can I kind of pivot off to? Then it takes me to this rabbit hole, and then that little, tangent somewhere else.
There's no way of pre-programming.
There's no way to do that.
AI can't do it.
Yeah, it's an organic growth. Like, think of it like a tree structure. It goes in all directions. Then I start pruning it myself. I'm like, all right, this is useful. This is useless. Let's focus here or there. That's creativity. Like the way I found the guy, it's in the video, but it's basically a plant. There was a little plant in the bottom of the screen of the mask magician. In one of his 1,000+ videos, he had a little bit about his background. I noticed that it was in my memory, in my RAM up here, and then I looked at another guy who I knew was a suspect, and in his house I was looking for those kind of things, and I found it there. I'm like,
You found the plant.
AI couldn't have done that, because I looked at things
That's
that clicked in
brilliant.
my mind, and then other things that kind of validated everything together. I looked at things in the reflection. Like, he held up that YouTube plaque that you have, the silver one, and in the reflection there was a couch, a red couch. I looked for that red couch in multiple targets, and I found that exact same couch. I'm like, these are the things that a creative mind can achieve. And once you know how to do these things, like the techniques are there, you just need to apply them. And I feel like with this super skill, the superpower, you can solve anything.
That's why you're Iron Man. That's what I'm telling you. And your business partner is Batman.
Yeah, that's why I don't sleep at night much.
That's why you don't sleep. Well, at least you sleep in a bed that nobody can find. So that's at least
Hopefully.
you're safe. So yeah. Hey, thank you so much, man. Great conversation. Wish you the best. Please let us know when it. We will obviously have your book, and I encourage people to get it because it is a really good book. The Phantom CISO. It's up on my bookshelf. When the documentary comes out, I'll also update the show notes so you guys will be able to find it here. Just congratulations on all the great work, and we will definitely stay in touch.
Thanks. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Great job. Great to see you. Wish you and your family the best.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.